We were vacationing out in Utah. Stace and I had gone on a trip with my sister and her friend, and we were doing a lot of hiking, and every morning I would get up and the just indigestion things that were happening every morning, it just was hard to get going for the first couple hours, and then the day would be fine. I would be fine until towards the end of that 10 days, and I was noticing just bloating and just not being able to eat, and I knew something was wrong and I needed to see a doctor. You know, my chart comes up and you can read it before the doctor, and so of course I read it, and might as well be in a foreign language. But I looked up some of the words, and I knew that it was cancer. That word's scary. Of course, you go and you start looking up everything about ovarian cancer, and it's not a curable cancer. It's a treatable cancer that just keeps raising its ugly head. You don't know when and how often, but that was a night. We cried together on the couch. I wasn't crying for me as much as I was crying for losing the relationship with Stace, the relationship with my girls, my sisters, you know, the grandkids, not knowing what the future held. But I did know who held the future, and we grabbed onto that.
I think we focus more on the things that really matter now, and don't get so frustrated and upset about the little things because they don't matter.
We've learned to be intentional, so if there's something we really want to share together, we've made those plans and we've shared.
We have, and so we decided that we're going to do our living now. We're not going to wait until someday. If we want to travel or see something and go somewhere, experience something, if we can afford it, we're going to do it. We had planned on going to Alaska on our 50th anniversary, or at least that year. And last September, we decided to go anyway and not to wait, because we don't know what 2 years is going to look like for us.
My mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, and it had metastasized, and she was given 3 to 6 months to live. She had an experience as she was in a Bible study. They weren't praying for her, they weren't talking about healing, but she had this shaft of light just come through her, and she knew something miraculous had happened. And the Lord gave her 7 years to live and to be a witness on a testimony. But she had shared with me that that was not her real healing. She had shared that her real healing came before that happened, and she had surrendered to the Lord and just said, God, I just want your will in my life for me. I remembered in the scriptures that the musicians always were put in the front as the Israelites would go out to war. And so I decided that I would order a ram's horn from Israel, because I knew that they played horns as they marched. Even you can remember as they marched to Jericho, the musicians would sound the horn. And so it would have been a ram's horn or something very similar to this. And so before every treatment, I would play the ram's horn. And before every scan, I would play the ram's horn. And before every doctor's appointment and a blood test, I'd play the ram's horn. It's been a while since I played it, because this time I haven't needed that. I know the battle's already been won, but I keep it here as a reminder. I transitioned from being the director of traditional worship during COVID. And when we came back to in-person worship and they made the decision not to reinstate that service, they asked if I would become care pastor full-time. So I was walking with another family whose mom was there in hospice as well, and the family had called me because she was dying and they wanted me to come. It was the first time I had ever been with somebody who died. It took the fear out of death. There was such a peace there in that room. There was such joy on the face of the precious saint who had gone to be with the Lord. Just to hear the family recounting and talking and singing hymns And then to be able to be there as kind of an intermediary between the family and the hospice staff, just to find out what the next steps were. But my own journey has taught me so much of how to care for people, because I know what people need, that they don't need people declaring over them, that they are healed. What they need is just a listening ear and a caring heart, and somebody who's going to just hold their hand and encourage them through faith. June 15th this year, I write, I'm nervous to learn the results of the PET scan, but nothing is beyond your control. You are sovereign. Lord, I cry out to you. You see my heart and my bitter tears. You have said in your word to seek, knock, and ask. Lord, even as you relented when King Hezekiah prayed, I too ask you to remember I have walked before you faithfully and with a wholehearted devotion. I have strived to do what is right and good. I boldly ask you to heal me and add years to my life. Let me live. Deliver me, oh my God, yet I surrender to you and your plans and purposes. I ask that all the days, years I have left will bring many to you for your glory and honor. Thank you that your grace is sufficient for me. I praise you in the storm.